Welcome to Escoffier Online. Here today at 9:30 with emulsification. Actually, we want to do a little magic here, and it worked out perfectly fine. You actually didn't hear me in the first couple seconds. So here I am, and we talk about something very, very commonly used in our industry, which is emulsification. Now, emulsification, this word comes around a lot lately, even in modernist cuisine, or as we also call it, molecular gastronomy. It's really nothing new. This has been around for many, many years. Actually, if you really think about it, a lot of things in modernist cuisine and molecular gastronomy has been here forever. We just now start selling specific chemicals or derivatives of products to actually enhance that and make it a little bit easier on the consumer or like on culinary students like yourself. Anyways, let's go back to our fantastic class of magic of emulsification. I feel a little bit like I should have like a magic hat on or something like that. Pull like a rabbit out of my head. So, but what is emulsification? The magic in emulsification is actually that I use two liquids. They usually don't mix, and I make them fuse, I make them emulsify, I make them stick together. Most of the time, chefs hope that that is going to be a connection which is going to last forever. Kind of like a marriage, I would say. But unfortunately, as with a lot of things, emulsification can break, and the dispersion of droplets can actually disconnect, and then we have a broken emulsification. Now, you might have heard broken a couple times, maybe with a mayonnaise or with a vinaigrette. So these are actually two of the most common emulsification you have probably done since you're in the kitchen cooking. Probably don't even know that it's actually really called emulsification. Let's go to the facts here with emulsification. So two liquids, they usually don't mix. Oil and water is one of the most common ones, right? So when I say water, anything what has water as a component, which would be like more than 80%. Let's say vinegar. Vinegar is made mainly out of water. So we have oil and vinegar in a vinaigrette. They are not supposed to mix, but we make them, we force them. This is called a suspension. Suspension means that there is a liquid dispersed into another one. And there's two different terminologies we use. And it's actually fairly easy to understand. The dispersed liquid is little droplets, and the continuous liquid is around it. Think about it like a swimming pool. A swimming pool with people in it. You know, around the summer it's really easy to picture, right? So think about all the different people. That's the dispersion. And the water in the pool around it, that is the continuous liquid. So if I think about a vinaigrette, it would be oil and water. So I have oil as the continuous pool, and the water, which is the vinegar, as a dispersed liquid. So the vinegar would be the people, the oil would be the pool water. So I hope that makes it much easier to understand. So we have a dispersed liquid and a continuous liquid. Why is this so important to know? Well, if you know a little bit about science, that makes it easier to manipulate these ingredients to actually make them fit to what you need. Let's say you want to mix together two liquids, and you want to make them both continuous. That's not going to work, right? So you always have a liquid you have more of, and a liquid you have less of. A dispersed liquid and a continuous liquid. So what are some of the common emulsification you have worked with? Now listen, butter in your fridge, that is actually one of the most common emulsification. It is actually water in oil. And how can you see that there's water in there? No, it's not, because it's not sweating or something like that. It's not dripping water off it, the butter block. But if you actually take butter and you are clarifying it, you actually exert the water by boiling it out. You actually create steam, and then you will have left butter solids and butter fat. So that is then a clarification process where you actually take the water out. This is a broken emulsification technically, because you're actually taking the dispersed liquid out of there, which is your water. Now, oil in water emulsifications are mayonnaise, vinegar, and hollandaise sauce. These are the most three common emulsification oil in water. I will be doing two today for you. I'm going to make a vinaigrette and a mayonnaise, and hopefully I'm not going to break it. So now we go a little bit into the science of molecular gastronomy. I'm pretty sure my boss is laughing about how I say molecular right now. So molecular gastronomy. So the core ingredients for using these are xanthan gum, and we have soy lecithin powder. These two chemicals we have on board from the modernist pantry. There's some other online companies that sell these. Actually, Xanthan Gum is also produced by Red Mill, and you can pick up a whole bag. Actually, I think some kind of lecithin powder is also available through Red Mill. So Red Mill is a good company you can actually get in a grocery store. You don't have to go online, and you can buy a whole bag. Now, Xanthan Gum and soy lecithin powder are both plant-derived, so these are not poisonous. You can eat them right out of the bag. I would probably not do that, but you could. It would not kill you. So what are the percentages here? And you might want to write this down because this is something you will only find in books. Xanthan Gum, for a good velocity of a vinaigrette, you would use anywhere between 0.1 to 0.75% of the whole liquid. So it means if I have 10 ounces, it would be 0.75 ounces for the Xanthan Gum. Now be careful because most of these ingredients are measured in grams, so you really want to look out for converting that correctly. If you stay with ratios and percentages, it would be a little bit easier. So Xanthan Gum, you would only use 0.1 to 0.75% for a vinaigrette emulsification. The soy lecithin, on the other hand, you use 0.3 to 1% of soy lecithin. So 0.3 to 1%. Now, why these big changes? This is exactly how you want the viscosity and the emulsification of your vinaigrette or of your emulsification to look like. So if you want to get it thicker and more stable, you would add more. If you have a light vinaigrette, something you want to maybe spray on with a vinegar spray or something like that, with a spray bottle, then you would use a little bit less. Now these two these two ingredients look actually very similar. You have here the soy lecithin. I should have done that before, sorry. The soy lecithin is a little bit more on the yellowish side, and the Xanthan Gum you can barely see. I already measured this out for my recipe to actually do this very white powder, very small. It's almost look a little bit like gelatin. So, get these both. What else can be an emulsifier? We have mono and diglycerides. This is actually a chemical you would have to buy through a online store because those are not used or not available in the grocery stores. And that would be 0.5 to 5%, but these are usually not used so much. So Xanthan Gum and soy lecithin are the most common ones. The normal, classical way to actually emulsify, or the help for emulsification, is actually egg protein, and that's the most common thing we use to make emulsification more stable. So let me see if you remember where egg is in there. Yes, correctly. In mayonnaise is eggs, and also in hollandaise. So that egg protein actually helps us emulsify and keep that emulsification stable. Unfortunately, it is egg protein. That means if I get that egg protein anywhere over 120, 140 degrees, it starts coagulating and it drops the properties of actually binding. That means we have, as we call it, French scrambled eggs then, and not a hollandaise sauce anymore. This is something you can barely recover from. Some chefs use ice water and stick blender. But if a hollandaise breaks, most of the time you have to start with new egg yolks and then slowly whisk in the broken hollandaise sauce. Excuse me. There's also an immersion blender or a stick blender recipe for hollandaises. These emulsifications hold fairly well and quite long. And because it's an egg product and barely cooked, you don't want to keep it for very long anyways. Mayonnaise, you make it, you can keep it in your refrigerator. I always tell students, please don't keep anything you make more than 6 days. So if it's an infused oil, or if it's a mayonnaise, or if it's creme fraiche or yogurt, I don't care. Just for the safety reasons of bacterial growth, you want to keep these things for 6 days, but not longer. So, emulsifier, egg, Xanthan Gum, soy lecithin. Emulsification is combining two liquids. They usually don't mix. The properties change. We call that droplet sizes, and we can change that plus the viscosity of the liquid. The viscosity of the liquid is changed by Xanthan Gum and soy lecithin. Droplet size is changed by either using a hand whisk or a stick blender. If I do a stick blender, obviously I'm going to get a higher rotation and I get a smaller droplet size. With a hand whisk, well, I get as small of the droplets as fast and as strong you can hand mix this liquid. So why don't we go for the first recipe? Let's make the easy one first. We have the vinegar and oil emulsification here. I have a container because I'm going to use my stick blender. I will use some vinegar. That's about 2 ounces. We just used white wine vinegar, nothing fancy. You can obviously use any other flavored vinegar. You have some salt and some pepper. Obviously, that is kind of stuff you can add later on also by taste, right? My mom always would use sugar as well. And then we have about 6 ounces of salad oil. So we're going to put this in here. As you can see right now, I'm trying to actually stop this for a moment here. You see how foamy it gets, and you see maybe still the droplets in there. In a second, you won't see that at all anymore. So, here's your totally emulsified salad dressing. Coats the back of the spoon. No, it's vinegar and oil, salt and pepper, not much to it. Now, if I let this stand, this will break eventually. We're not going to have that much time to actually watch that break. But what I can do to avoid this to break, I can actually now use, and I measured it out, the Xanthan Gum. So I have the Xanthan Gum right here. And all I have to do is put my stick blender on it again. And that's it. I really just need to blend this Xanthan Gum in, and the viscosity is still the same. I have not changed that at all. Color is still the same. I have very small droplets. It means the separation is going to take a long time. Now, if I would have used some balsamic vinegar, it would obviously be dark. So you might not be used to a salad dressing that white. All right. So this was our vinaigrette, very simple. And let's go to hand mixing our mayonnaise. I have a wet towel here. It's not because I'm sweating, it's because it's safer. I put the bowl on here so it doesn't move too much. All right, so for the mayonnaise, we have 2 egg yolks. We're gonna do a little bit of salt, a little bit of vinegar, a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper right away. You can use white ground pepper, that works too. We have some dry mustard. It should be about a half a teaspoon. I think I put a little bit too much out there, so I half this. This is about a half. And then we have a little bit of white wine we can add. I'm mixing this up right now. See how liquid this is? We add a little bit of cold water if we need to, because this doesn't mix yet well. We can add up to a tablespoon. So then this mix actually is a little bit more cohesive here, and I don't have these lumps from the dry mustard. So we have all the dry ingredients in. We have some cold water. We have the egg yolks in there. Now we're gonna actually have to add our oil. And then we add a little bit also of vinegar and some lemon juice at a time. So, I hope you're ready. So we only add a little bit at a time, and as soon as I put the oil in there, I can see that my egg yolks change a little bit. They actually start taking on some of that oil. Now if I would just put the oil in there, see, it's just a big blob. I have to mix to make this dispersion and the continuous liquid work together. The volume is going to get more. You see how the texture changes? I can. Now if your mayonnaise is getting too thick at any point, add a little bit of your vinegar, because what you're adding is just water. You can add a little bit of the lemon juice. Now acidity is also doing something to the protein in the egg yolk, so we have to be careful that we're not adding too much. I was working out yesterday, but I tell you, I can feel this in my arm already. Here we go. Now I also want to get all the oil from the sides. Now if I wouldn't put that wet towel under here, I would have to have my second hand to actually hold the bowl. So that would be constantly like this. So with the towel under here, I actually have a huge advantage because I can use my other hand for the oil. Much easier in the KitchenAid with the whisk attachment on very low. I see now I'm coming to a point where the protein from the egg might be saturated. That means I want to be very careful how much more oil I put in there. Although, look at this, there's almost nothing left, so I'm gonna make that work. Here we go. I can smell mayonnaise. I don't know if you can. Look at this. Now this emulsification should be stable for a while because obviously the properties are different. The dispersion is different than in the vinaigrette. We have that egg yolk which makes the mayonnaise actually hold together, right? Look at that beautiful mayonnaise. Probably a little bit more salt. So I'm ready for a sandwich here. And let's see what else we can add. Maybe a little bit more vinegar. The rest of the lemon juice. The acidity is really nice in there. Now if you make that mayonnaise, let's say for coleslaw for the summer, again, I would maybe make that mayonnaise a day ahead. Let it sit. But this is actually different, definitely really nice mayonnaise here. All right, so to recap for today's class, what did we learn? A whole lot. Emulsification. To liquids, they usually don't mix. Most of the time, water and oil. And we have a question.
Actually, there's two questions. One, how much oil did you use? And two, why is the yellow not white?
Okay, how much oil did I use? The recipe called for 14 ounces of oil to 2 egg yolks. And that's a good formula to have. So it's like 2 to 14, so 2 egg yolks to 14 ounces of oil. And that took it perfectly fine. The other liquids, as you saw, were in the tablespoon size. The other question is, why is it yellow and not white? The mayonnaise? Oh, yeah, of course. So the mayonnaise you're buying is white. Well, why is it white? Because I'm pretty sure the marketers thought that it's much more prettier when it's plain white. So they do all kinds of stuff to processed mayonnaise to make it white. These were cage-free organic egg yolks. Or eggs, sorry, not the yolks were just organic. So the color of the egg yolks is definitely going to come into your mayonnaise, and this is beautiful. Yeah. We have another question.
Is the using the hand blender, does that change the texture and viscosity of the mixture compared to the other technique?
Yeah, definitely. If I would have done this the opposite way, if I would have used the stick blender for the mayonnaise, we would have had more air incorporated. That also does something to the color. It would get it a little bit more brighter or whiter. That would have definitely made a difference. We probably could have incorporated more oil, which makes the mayonnaise heavier and fatter, and the volume would be expanding. If we would have used, excuse me, the whisk for our vinaigrette, which is done a lot, or we just have blended it in a shaker, even in a bar shaker, that would have also changed the viscosity a little bit, but not too much. It's always about the droplet size. So if I get the droplets as small as possible, the emulsification holds longer because the dispersion is finer. That's why I get different colors out of this. As you can see, I'm putting this next to it. Our vinaigrette is still super duper white and still has not been broken. It's a nice viscosity too. So yeah, it would change definitely if I would have changed that out, or if I would have used the KitchenAid on low with the mayonnaise, probably would have made the mayonnaise look a little bit different too. Probably again more volume and a little bit lighter. I hope that answers your question. Where was I with the summary? Good. Butter is water in oil. Mayonnaise, vinaigrette, and hollandaise is oil in water. These are all emulsifications. They're bound to break sometimes. We can use xanthan gum or soy lecithin to make them more stable. Key is dispersion. Dispersion means as smaller I have the droplet size, meaning as more people in the pool, as easy it is to keep the emulsification going for a long, long time before it breaks. Egg yolks are our natural or classical helpers in emulsification. And we have one more question.
Two more.
Two more.
At what point do you add additional flavoring agents, and what kind of oil did you use?
All right, when can I add more flavoring and which kind of oil can I use? So I'm going to generalize this. So for both dishes, for both emulsifications, any kind of oil is good. I have not found any oil which would not do the job for either salad dressing or mayonnaise. Obviously mayonnaise, let's say if you do a walnut oil, I mean you're asking for a very strong flavor here. So for mayonnaise, I probably would stick with salad oil, olive oil. Try to stay away from any processed oils, so stay with something natural or pressed. For your vinaigrettes, the oils can be anything from flavored walnut, peanut oil, coconut oil. Adds flavor to the salad, obviously. Now, seasonings, at which point do you use seasonings? Please, for hollandaise sauces and for mayonnaise, you want to get most of the dry ingredients in right at the beginning, because adding them later, they might clump up. Then you have little driblets of maybe dried mustard in there. Besides salt and pepper, I would probably put everything in right at the beginning with the egg yolks and with a little bit of liquid, meaning either the vinegar or some of the water. Seasoning for the vinaigrette at any point, at the beginning, at the end, during, does not really matter. Herbs probably I would put in the end. Dry seasonings and spices probably at the beginning. And you have to taste it anyways throughout the process. So you always want to try to taste your product at least 3 times during the process of making it. So at the beginning, halfway through, and then at the end. When I say at the beginning, it does not mean I have to eat raw egg yolk, but I want to make sure that I know how strong the dry mustard is, which salt I use, which pepper I use. So this is kind of your tasting phase right there. All right. If there's no other questions today, I'm going to be online in a couple minutes to answer more questions and talk about emulsification. Other than that, thank you so much for watching today. This was a really classical, short class on emulsification with a little bit of a hint of modernist and molecular gastronomy. So if you have more questions, please email us at any time. Also, I want to remind you, we have that contest going on still this June. So as more you read and as more assessments you get in your progress bar on top, every 10% you get a ticket for a fantastic online store. We have knives, we have scales, we have hoodies, we have chef coats. So please rock on with your assignments and with your reading. Get on with your education, and we wish you the best of luck for the contest, and I see you soon. Thank you so much.